Hello everyone and welcome to my B&B Fan Club channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Luna Bold faced the judge's gavel in a dimly lit Los Angeles courtroom filled with the aroma of polished wood and unsaid sorrow. It was a sound that rang like a final heartbeat, confirming her fate of 30 years in prison. The bold and the beautiful had always been a world of glitter, secrets and convoluted family relationships. But for Luna, daughter of the enigmatic Poppy Nazdu, this was more than a soap opera twist. It was the end of her dreams, smashed on the cold marble floor of justice. What are the charges? A web of deception including tainted paternity tests, a fatal overdose at a high society party, and a desperate cover-up that implicated her in the murders of Tom Starr and Hollis, two men whose lives collided disastrously with the Logans and the Forresters. Luna's story was not one of innate villainy. Rather, it was a tragic unraveling caused by a lifetime of instability. Luna was abandoned by her biological father, Jack Finnegan, a man who had buried his identity behind layers of denial, and grew up in the shadow of Poppy's reckless decisions. Poppy, with her free-spirited ways and transitory romances, had carried Luna through a carousel of temporary houses, from cheap motels to the outskirts of Beverly Hills parties where the privileged mingled with the desperate. Luna adored her mother, seeing in Poppy a symbol of defiance against the harsh world of the Bold family enterprise. But underlying that admiration was bitterness, a quiet fury that raged as Luna watched her half-siblings, Lee Finnegan's adoptive son Finn and the huge Forrester clan, thrive in a way she could only imagine. The decisive night began innocently enough, Luna assured herself in the peaceful hours leading up to her arrest. The sumptuous party took place in Il Giardino, the Italian restaurant owned by the ever-scheming Deacon Sharp. The air was alive with champagne flutes clinking and rumors of corporate takeovers. Luna, now a young lady negotiating her position in this rich society, had finally grabbed the attention of R.J. Forrester, the benevolent grandson of the fashion dynasty's father, Eric Forrester. R.J. symbolized everything Luna desired: security, affection, and a family heritage free of chaos. Their romance bloomed in furtive moments among the Forrester Creations ateliers, where designs of gowns flew like promises of a better future. But doubt crept in like a cloud over the Pacific. Luna was beset by paternity questions, including rumors that she was connected to Finn, making her relationship with RJ controversial. Luna, desperate to secure her position, turned to prohibited means. She accessed Lee Finnegan's medical supplies, switching labels on medicine vials in a desperate attempt to falsify test findings. What she didn't expect was the fatal combination. The pills, intended as a basic sedative, were tainted. Tom Starr, Poppy's ex-lover and Luna's prospective father, showed up at the party unannounced, hoping to reconcile. Hollis, the devoted bartender with his own hidden connections to the past, served the contaminated beverages. By daybreak, both men were dead, discovered in a rear room, their features frozen in confusion. Luna was in a state of panic. She confessed fragments to Poppy, who, in a state of denial, advised silence. They prepared the scene, planting evidence to accuse Deacon, the ex-convict who was always one scandal away from disaster. However, the truth eventually comes out in the Bold universe, where DNA tests and hidden cameras reveal everything. Steffi Forrester, ever vigilant protector of her family's honor, discovered the tampering. Hope Logan, divided between devotion to the Logan family and justice, pieced together the timeline. Even Bill Spencer, the media mogul with an insatiable appetite for scandal, published exposés that revealed the layers of deception. As the trial progressed, Luna's defense depicted her as a victim of circumstance, a kid desperate for belonging who was exploited by a neglectful mother. Witnesses spoke to her benevolence, describing how she volunteered at Forrester events, sketching designs that highlighted the frailty of the human spirit. RJ took the stand, tears running down his cheeks, begging for forgiveness, his love unwavering in the face of betrayal. "She was lost, Your Honor, not evil," he said. But the prosecution hammered home the facts. 2 lives lost, a family split apart, and Luna's own recorded confession, taken on a nanny cam Poppy had put out of paranoia. The judge, a stern woman with eyes that had witnessed far too many tragedies, pronounced the sentence with measured gravity. 30 years, she said. reflects the gravity of your actions and the potential for redemption behind bars. The courtroom erupted. Poppy sobbing, Lee Finnegan nodding stoically, Eric Forrester gripping his cane as if it were his last connection to sanity. Luna, in her fitted suit now embodying shattered illusions, was brought away in handcuffs, her eyes connecting with RJ's for the final time. That glance revealed a universe of sorrow. The what-ifs of unlived lives, unborn children, and unbuilt empires. Luna's prison experience began in the harsh confines of a California women's facility, when days became a tedious churn of remorse. Her cell, a 6-by-8-foot cage with a flimsy cot and a flickering fluorescent light, was her new existence. Mornings began with the clanging of gates and the shuffling of convicts to the chow hall, where watery oatmeal and moldy bread feed vacuous discussions. Luna stayed to herself at first, her bold pedigree a whispered legend among the hardened women who looked at her with a mixture of jealousy and sympathy. Counseling sessions stripped away her armor. Dr. Elena Vasquez, a no-nonsense therapist with experience in trauma rehabilitation, investigated the source of Luna's depression. You chase belonging at any cost, Dr. Vasquez noted during their weekly discussions, but true family starts within. Luna related childhood memories, Poppy's itinerant existence, sleeping on the couches of ephemeral boyfriends, and the sting of schoolyard comments over her thrift store outfits. I just wanted to be a Forrester, Luna confessed, her voice shaking. To matter. Letters from the outside world arrived, each a dagger of want. RJ wrote faithfully at first, promising eternal love and attaching designs of wedding garments they would never wear. But as the months and years passed, his records became increasingly scarce, tainted by Steffi's influence and the family's healing wounds. Poppy paid occasional visits, her face furrowed with shame, making empty promises. I'm fighting for you, baby, she'd say through the plexiglass partition, but Luna could see the untruth in her eyes. Poppy's life was falling into solitude. Luna sought refuge in unexpected places. In the jail library, she read design and psychology texts, turning her ideas into handmade greeting cards sold through the inmate program. Warden Carla Ruiz noticed her talent and sponsored her to take art therapy workshops. Luna formed friendships with convicts such as Maria, a former gang member serving a manslaughter sentence, who related stories about lost children and redemption arcs. We all have our demons, Maria would explain, her tattooed arms depicting battles waged. They created a support group, laughing over illegal food and daydreaming about parole hearings. Luna's sleep was still plagued by dreams, however. She awoke sweating from visions of Tom and Hollis, accusatory ghosts crying for justice. She composed unsent letters to their families, apologies written in ink that smudged with tears. I didn't mean to take your light, she wrote to Tom's sister, whom she'd never met. Guilt manifested physiologically as insomnia, weight loss, and a persistent cough due to the facility's damp air. Medical examinations indicated stress-induced ulcers, which were treated with inexpensive medications that did little to heal the soul. Holidays exacerbated the isolation. Christmas behind prison meant artificial trees and canned carols, as opposed to the Forrester galas, which featured sparkling lights and symphonic swells. Luna imagined RJ toasting with crystal glasses, Hope holding her infant, and the world carrying on without her. One New Year's Eve, she took part in a group therapy tradition that involved writing resolutions on slips of paper and burning them in a supervised fire pit. Hers read, "Forgive myself. Create a legacy from ashes." As the years passed, Luna's message evolved into one of change. She completed her GED and then enrolled in online fashion merchandising courses, her mind racing with designs inspired by prison life. Fabric sturdy as Kevlar but soft as hope. A prison reform program assigned her a mentor, an ex-inmate turned advocate, who taught her advocacy techniques. Luna began writing pieces for the facility's newsletter, highlighting structural issues such as overcrowding and inadequate mental health care. Her voice, previously stifled by fear, is now heard in legislative sessions via video link, advocating for second chances. After 10 years, parole seemed like a faraway beacon, but Luna knew that 30 required decades of perseverance. After 5 years, RJ's visits halted, and he sent a letter detailing his marriage to another, a Forrester cousin, irony's terrible twist. Luna, heartbroken, burned his images in a private ceremony and dispersed the ashes in the yard under starry skies. Poppy died midway through, possibly from an overdose, leaving Luna with a parting letter. You were my greatest adventure. Forgive me. Through the quiet evolution, Luna discovered an inner strength forged in the bold fires. She taught younger offenders, offering sewing workshops where needles stitched together not just material, but also broken lives. Her narrative traveled outside the walls. Podcasts interviewed her, and books on redemption included her case. The Bold family, ever dramatic, sent occasional checks through lawyers as anonymous expressions of enduring relationships. By year 15, Luna's appeal had partially succeeded, taking 5 years off for good behavior and fresh evidence of Poppy's principal guilt. Freedom's whisper became louder, as did the fear of re-entry. What world awaited? Forrester Creations had developed, with fresh scandals surpassing hers. RJ now has children and has rebuilt his life. Luna had modest goals: a small apartment, a job in ethical fashion, and treatment to help her cope with her scars. On the eve of her prospective release, Luna stood in the yard, staring at the horizon, where Los Angeles lights flashed like faraway memories. 30 years had transformed her from a delicate girl to a strong woman. The sentence, which was previously a cage, transformed into a crucible. In the bold and the beautiful tapestry, her thread of tragedy wove a unique sadness, not simply loss, but the profound anguish of what could have been, balanced by the calm victory of self-forgiveness. She was Luna Bold, a survivor of her own storm, ready to enter the light, forever transformed. Luna couldn't believe what she was hearing. The courtroom was hushed, except for stifled coughs from the back rows. The judge's gavel struck once, twice, sending reverberations into her bones. Everything she had hoped for, every half-formed plan for redemption, and every appeal she had made to fate appeared to fall in slow motion in that moment. 30 years. 30 years of prison. This was her sentence. She knew the stakes were great. She knew the consequences may be terrible. But this, the magnitude of eternity, was beyond anything she had ever imagined, even in her darkest moments. She closed her eyes briefly, allowing the picture of that statement, that dreadful string of words, to wash over her like an ice storm. The judge's voice continued, but it was distant, like if it were coming from afar and reverberating down a tunnel. Yes, Ms. Luna, the judge said. For the deaths of Hollis and Tom, as well as the kidnapping charge related to them, the court hereby sentences you to 30 years in state prison. You shall report to the state correctional prison within 30 days. Until then, you remain in custody. The courtroom erupted in gasps. The prosecution team nodded gravely, the defense table was tense, and Luna's attorney stared down at her notes, as if looking for a way out. However, the punishment had been given down. The die was cast. Outside the courtroom in the hallway, media gathered like vultures. Cameras flashed. Reporters screamed questions. Luna, what are you saying? Are you going to appeal? Do you feel remorse? But Luna's face was pale, her lips pulled tightly together, and she was unable or unwilling to respond. Her thoughts swirled, flitting over memories. The time she tried to turn things around, the wrong decisions she made, the relationship she tried to save, the betrayals, the dangerous liaisons, and the time she injured people she cared about. She sat silently in the van that would transport her to the holding facility, accompanied by guards. The windows were blocked. Sunshine filtered in but did not warm her. All she could see was the phrase 30 years. She considered what it meant in terms of existence. She thought about all she would miss. Laughing birthdays, reconciliations, love and progress. She thought about Will, who would never understand or be forced to believe the worst of her. She recalled Bill, who used power like a weapon, manipulating destiny like chess pieces. She thought about Lee, who had once tried to protect her, and how he may be embarrassed, outcast, and tortured by the secret that the world would soon discover. But most of all, she felt a suffocating loneliness. Her mind conjured images of frigid walls, tiny halls, barred doors, and echoing footsteps. She felt bereft of agency and disconnected from life. She had become a number, a client, and a case. She was full of dread. And yet, somewhere in the back of her mind, a spark remained. A spark of defiance, a spark of doubt, a spark that whispered, "You will not lose your soul. You must fight." Even from behind the bars. The fallout was fast. The media bombardment began immediately. Luna's sentence confirms the shocking twist in The Bold and the Beautiful, the newspaper said. Tabloid websites carried headlines dripping with sensationalism. Viewers speculated online. How did it come to this? Could she ever make it out? Will she be pardoned? Was there a hidden secret? Reddit forums erupted with followers examining every twist, motive, and misstep that could result in a retrial or escape. The show's social media popularity skyrocketed. There was one element in particular that piqued my interest. In some versions of the story, Luna had already been pardoned or was being held under house arrest due to Bill's connections and influence. However, in other cases the reprieve failed and the entire sentence was now being imposed. That confusion spurred conjecture about whether the 30-year sentence was real or symbolic. Was it part of a larger plot twist, a deceit, or a ploy to entice other characters into dramatic action? The producers and authors remained silent, and purposefully so. That uncertainty just fueled interest. Fans awaited the next episode, the next spoiler leak, and the next subtle hint. Meanwhile, cast interviews alluded to secrecy. Some are being evasive, while others simply refuse to confirm or refute the reports. The show teased discoveries with lines like Luna's fate sealed, twist you don't see coming, and power, justice, betrayal that flickered at the end of each episode. Meanwhile, inside her cell, or the holding room before prison, Luna attempted to fortify herself. The prison move was approaching. She considered what she would need: resilience, cunning, and patience. She considered supporters who could fight for her. Lee, though Lee's social standing may be jeopardized, but Bill's loyalties were erratic. Remy, possibly someone she trusted deeply, or even someone she had betrayed who would now feel responsible. She contemplated appeals, legal strategies, and silver linings. Nothing was off the table. She considered redemption, if she could somehow atone, find a way out, and reclaim a shred of dignity. But first she needed to make it through the first several days. She would be processed, fingerprinted, stripped of her prior identity, and her name converted to a number. She would learn the routines. Waking up at dawn, counting, lining up for meals, and being confined. She would have to deal with the knocks, the cold, and the isolation. She would observe the walls. She would keep her mind alive with optimism, however weak it was. Luna scrawled in her holding cell one evening a speech she planned to give one day, either in court or to the world. I am not a monster. I'm flawed. I made mistakes. I regret them. But behind this sentence is a person who deserves the opportunity to improve. She clutched that concept like a talisman. In subsequent episodes, fractures in the sentence began to appear. The writers revealed fresh story layers. Was evidence tampered with? Did somebody frame her? Was someone sheltering her by causing her pain? Rumors swirled that Bill may have used his contacts to arrange for house arrest or a secret pardon. Perhaps the 30-year sentence was more dramatic, more symbolic. A tool for pressuring other characters and forcing confrontations. Perhaps the actual statement would be shorter. But first Luna had to fall. Lee's involvement drew criticism. According to some spoilers, Lee withdrew Luna from the hospital during her rehabilitation and said she had died, effectively fabricating her death to escape rearrest. Lee, recognized for her ambition and compassion, put everything on the line, including her medical credentials, reputation, and safety, to keep Luna from returning to prison. In this twist, Luna would be covertly concealed, sedated, or perhaps placed in the care of someone else while the rest of the world assumed she had died. That shadow narrative gave a glimmer of hope. Perhaps the 30-year sentence would never be carried out completely. Perhaps Luna would escape or be spared through some loophole or covert campaigning. Sheila, too, emerged as a potential conspirator. Sheila, a character who knew secrets and had ties to both Lee and Luna, may be an ally in clandestine operations, such as managing medical needs or hidden tunnels. Her long history with the show's main protagonists offered emotional depth. Would she betray or protect? Could she be someone who can genuinely assist Luna survive? Meanwhile, Bill's role became darker and more central. His influence, connections, and moral complexity made him an important figure. Some episodes imply that he had initially arranged for a pardon or house arrest, but when Luna's spiral worsened, he withdrew assistance. He may have had hidden goals all along, such as wanting her at his mercy or gaining power. The 30-year sentence, then, could have been part of a chess move he devised to keep Luna under his thumb long after he was imprisoned. Throughout the story, the public's reaction was intense. Public opinion turned harsh, with the media screaming for justice for Tom and Hollis. Protesters gathered outside the courthouse. Opinion essays criticizing Luna as a symbol of increasing violence, treachery, and broken redemption. Others defended Luna, saying she had been deceived and had a painful history, therefore she deserved pity. The show's characters, designers, fashion moguls, and business rivals felt the repercussions. The scandals, alliances, and reputations were all affected. The Forresters and Logans, some took the moral high ground, while others kept secrets and planned. Luna communicated with other prisoners, guards, and lawyers. She met someone on the inside who discreetly admired the way she carried herself, and who might spread the news to the outside. She penned letters to Will, Lee, and no one in particular, putting pen to paper during calm hours. She speculated on appeals. She listened for rumors of external tactics such as finances, legal teams, and clandestine advocacy. She occupied her thoughts with puzzles, mental routines, and little prayers. Then came the twist. One day, under the hypothetical universe's judicial system, a judge reopens a motion to remove or lower her sentence. New evidence emerges, perhaps a witness recants, or forensic results are re-evaluated. The sentence, which was once regarded to be unbreakable, has become susceptible. Suddenly, the narrative arc shifts. It was never meant to be eternal damnation, but rather a crucible. Luna faces her most difficult challenge. In the meantime, Bill is seen meeting behind closed doors with influential figures and manipulating strings.